reparations is not a nicety. It's not something nice to have for black folk. It is now an absolute necessity. If you do not get reparations soon, black folk, as I told you before, are through. Reparation is not a nicety, it's a necessity.
What are the conditions? What are the conditions that precipitated black folk getting into this dilemma? And what black labor, white wealth did, it tracked 800 years of history in very systematic terms to show you every strategy, every technique, every law, every public custom, and every public policy that was used to enslave black folk around the world and to maldistribute almost 100% of all this nation's wealth, power, resource, privileges, businesses, and controls of all levels of government into the hands of the dominant white society. And what slavery and Jim Crow segregation did with black folk, it intentionally maldistributed all the resources away from black folk and created a real-life monopoly game. Black folk in America are playing in a real-life monopoly game that you're totally ill-prepared to play and win.
Peace, family. Welcome to Black Star TV 2.0. It's your boy Black Star, and today I got a nice little episode for y'all. We're going to talk about Joe Biden and what has he done in his first 2 years of his presidency. And they came out with an article from The Root. We're going to dig into that, and I'm also going to show you some of the people who are actually talking, so you can see the faces of the people, so we can know who these coons are or Sambos are. So again, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. Please make sure you hit the like, share, and the notification bell. I know sometimes the notification doesn't go out, but again, hit the notification anyway. Sometimes, you just might get it. But again, to all of my people that are already subscribed, I thank you. I love you for your support, and I appreciate it. And please continue to support the channel. We are definitely growing. We are at 1,400 subscribers now. And I thank each and last one of y'all, and I appreciate you. But make sure y'all go to my Patreon and my podcast, which is on Anchor, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and it's also on Apple Podcasts as well, right? Hit that Cash App at the bottom and that PayPal, please, family. So let's get into it. So again, we all know that Joe Biden really hasn't done nothing for Black America, right? It's been a lot of symbolism. And again, we need tangibles. As you heard Dr. Claude Anderson speak in the intro, which is about reparations, we need reparations bad. As he said, it's not a necessity. It's not a nicety. It's actually a necessity, right? So again, we need reparations bad, and we need tangible policies that are specifically lineage-based for foundational Black American freedmen. Some of us want to be called African-American. That's not really what we should be called. But again, we know the people who we talking about, descendants of slaves in America who built the country. So again, let's get into this article real quick. And I'm going to start. This is The Root. The Root had wrote this, right? And it was written by Jessica Washington. 2 years in, what has President Biden done for Black Americans? So we're going to dig into this real quick. It starts off saying, it's not a stretch to say without Black Americans, Joe Biden might not be sitting in the White House today. Now that we're halfway through his first term, it's worth checking to see into what Biden delivered for the community that helped him put him in power. So let's get down here. He says, David Dixon, the soul of the Biden administration is Black and female, says David Dixon, a political science professor of Howard. So I'm going to show you guys David Dixon. This is this brother right here, right? I feel like I've seen him on Roland Martin. And again, anybody that shows up on Roland Martin, more likely than none, is probably a Sambo. So let's get it, right? His support was overwhelmingly African-American and female, says Dixon. The energy in the Biden-Harris administration has been directed back to his Black constituents. So Biden nominated 25 Black judges for federal court. Again, family, that is symbolism, right? Because nominating 25 Black judges to the federal court, which you wind up only picking one, which was Ketanji Brown Jackson. And again, this is the same woman who couldn't define what a woman is. And mind you, she's been a woman her whole life, right? When asked in front of Congress, she couldn't define what a woman is. So anybody who, been been to college and Harvard and all this. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but Jesus Christ, I definitely can tell you, even if I didn't graduate high school or get a GED or not, right? Your average Joe, right? Your average, I'm going to say, dummy can tell you what a woman is. Let's be honest, right? So again, Biden nominated 25 black judges to federal court. So Dixon has some clear examples to back up his point. Let's see. In his first 2 years in office, Biden nominated at least 25 black judges to federal court and the first black woman to the Supreme Court, Ketanji Brown Jackson, right? Speaking of promoting competent black women, Dixon also pointed out that Biden's decision to choose Kamala Harris as his VP, that was significant, says Dixon. He selected Kamala Harris as his running mate, making her the first African-American vice president in our history, he says. Now, let's be honest. She is not African-American, and this is another reason why, family, we do not like the word African-American. We like foundational Black American, and we like to use the word freeman or descendants of slaves in America, who built the country, right? And a simple fact, because she actually grew up with her Asian side of her family, right? The Indian side of her family. And her dad is Jamaican, right? Which Jamaica's not in America, right? So how can you be the first African-American, right? Because again, most people look at African-American as the descendants of slaves in America, right? But again, Elon Musk is considered an African-American, and other people, again, I've always said this in some of my previous videos. I had a white boy that I knew in Oregon who was like, yo, I'm from South. He was born in South Africa till he was about 9 or 11. Then he came over here to, I think he moved to Washington, Seattle, and then he moved to Oregon. So he used to always joke and say, well, I'm African-American too. So again, that's another reason we don't like using African American, because then they can put in people who are truly not, descendants of slaves in America, and that's what Kamala Harris falls under. And again, she was raised with her Asian side or the Indian side of her family. She wasn't even raised with her Jamaican side, so she's really not African American at all. So to say that that's the first African American president is actually false. While Biden's policy agenda, and again, that's nothing tangible. That's nothing tangible to the Black community. Like, again, how does that? And as we go into this article, I'm going to show you how that Ketanji Brown Jackson and Kamala Harris being picked by President Biden doesn't do anything for Black America. Again, so that's symbolism. It's not tangible. So he selected Kamala Harris as his running mate, making her the first Black. I already read that part. While Biden's policy agenda has largely been hamstrung, and we'll get into that in a minute, Dixon says we can't discount the impact of Biden's work at the executive level on voting rights. In March 2021, Biden enacted a sweeping executive order directing federal agencies to expand access to voting. Now, a couple of things, family. One, expanding access to voting, that really is directed toward illegal immigrants, and them trying to get illegal immigrants to be able to vote, right? So that really has nothing to do with your average citizen, because we don't really have a problem voting. We don't have a problem with IDs and getting to the voting booths. That's not the issue. The issue with them is they're trying to actually knock out the Black vote and bring in this immigrant class for them to be able to vote. Again, they already, and I want to say it's California, they done already allowed illegal immigrants to be police officers and etc. They're already getting jobs. As we know, at these like factories and all these other jobs. So again, this is the second part of this sentence that is going to come in handy as we get down. So remember, Biden enacted a sweeping executive order, right? An executive order makes whatever policy he's trying to do go through without Congress or anybody. So just remember, executive order. So we should all know what an executive order is, right? So let's keep going. What has Biden done? Again, that whole voting right thing, that has to do with immigrants. So again, that doesn't impact foundational Black Americans like they're trying to make it seem. What has Biden done about student debt? Biden's decision to forgive thousands of dollars in student debt was another area where he was fulfilling his promise to Black voters who are disproportionately impacted by the student debt. Now, says Dixon. Now, again, family, let's be for real. Student debt impacts everybody, right? It says disproportionately. They love that word, disproportionately impacting, Black Americans, right, or Black voters. Let's be honest. Student debt affects everybody in the country, and this is what we don't like all these. We don't like to have policies that benefit everybody. See, anytime they try to do a policy for Black people, it has to benefit everybody. But then when you could do specific things for Asian Americans, you could do specific things for Hispanic Americans, and you could do specific things for immigrants, right? But as soon as it comes to Black people, you have to make whatever you do for Black people, it has to benefit everybody. Again, that's why in the beginning I said we need lineage-based policies that specifically affect foundational Black Americans. So student debt, and again, let me keep reading. The program has currently been on hold to Republican legal challenges. That's BS, though. And they always try to blame everything on the Republicans when it don't happen. But again, remember, they used to talk about when they talk you hear them talk about this filibuster thing, they were talking about another Democrat who was holding up stuff, and they're saying, oh, he's an undercover Republican. Like, no, he's a Democrat, right? And again, y'all all are left wing, right wing, same bird. It's all the same thing. So it's still in legal limbo, says Dixon. But once that's resolved, if it goes through, it will be a big deal because people who receive Pell Grants will receive a significant amount more, and a lot of African American and Latino students do have Pell Grants. See, again, you just added Latino students with African Americans, but again, you're saying that this is supposed to be for Black voters. Like, this is, you get what I'm saying? Like, again, everything that they do for us has to affect someone else. And we not off that, right? But again, the legal limbo and it not going through, once it goes through, all you have to do, like same thing you did up here with these voting rights, you can have an executive order. But see, again, that really doesn't affect Black Americans, and they know that because the voting rights were for the immigrants. This is why you're going to do an executive order to make that happen ASAP. But things that affect Black Americans, it's like, hold on, we gotta pass this through Congress. No, you don't have to pass that through Congress. You can get that done with an executive order, as we said. So student debt is hardly the only issue where Biden's policy agenda has been blocked. Stephen Taylor, a government professor at American University. We're going to show you who Stephen Taylor is now. This is him. This is this brother right here. Stephen Taylor explores why African Americans are resettling in Ghana. This is something that, again, we already discussed, is not something that, we feel like Black Americans should be doing, or Freedmen Foundation of Black Americans should be doing, should be going to Ghana. That's a whole nother story. But again, that's the brother Stephen Taylor, and I use that word brother loosely. Okay, says it's nearly impossible to judge what kind of President Biden has been for Black Americans since he hasn't been able to get most of his policies through Congress. Again, that's where we go to the executive order. See, when you really want things done, like when you got that Asian that Asian hate bill done, you passed that. It didn't go. I think it did go to Congress. I'm sorry. But again, it's certain things, a lot of things that he did that he filed executive order for. He signed a lot of executive orders when he first came into office. So again, when things, that's why I say when things are like for us that will truly affect us, it always has to go through Congress. It always has to go through all these little ups and downs, and you feel what I'm saying? And then it doesn't get done, and people say, oh, so we can't really judge him like that because they ain't going through. So again, we had the same thing issue with President Barack Obama, right? So we're not going to keep using this as an excuse of people blocking. Everything is always being blocked, right? Black Americans been voting for the longest, and a lot of us vote. Now the voting is starting to go down because we see the finesse game. Again, as you can see in this article, which The Root is a black publication. So as you can see, right, they're always trying to make excuses for this Democratic Party and for this government of why they can't do things for Black people. You see what I'm saying? And this is what has to stop, family, because again, we have to stop allowing these Black people, and it's always the educated Black people. I realize that y'all are the first and the fastest people to start sandboning and throwing people under the bus. Again, and then try to make it seem like just because you're intellectual and you're articulate that you know what you're talking about, but y'all always the first ones selling us out. And again, watch this. I always say this, just like with these rappers and also, right? It's always the people with money who do the selling out. You would expect a person who doesn't have nothing, I'm talking about absolutely nothing, to say, yo, bro, why don't you come over here and then you do this? I'll give you $200,000. You just got to do this and, finesse them real quick. You would expect someone like that to do it, not a professor, not someone who's, has all these accolades and all this other stuff and money at the same time, right? So, again, so they saying that it's impossible to judge Joe Biden because Biden has been judge what kind of president Biden has been for Black Americans since he hasn't been able to get most of these policies through Congress. You don't have a Congress that's willing to vote on anything that's going to improve the lot of Black people, says Taylor. Now, again, this is why you have the pen for the executive order. And again, this is why we should not vote unless it's a lineage-based policy, right? And if you're not pushing lineage-based policies for us, then we don't need you around. And again, if you're not going to, especially when we're talking about a president, right? If you're not willing to say, yo, when I get in office, I'm going to do an executive order to do such and such and such and such for Black people. We're tired of you having to push things through Congress and Congress, holding everything up. And then you get to say, oh, well, I did this, but Congress blocked it. I did this, but Congress blocked it. I did this, but the Republicans blocked it. Like, that is getting so old. That is getting so old, family. We can't keep going for the banana in the tailpipe. Because at the end of the day, we have to say, there's something going on here, right? And we can't keep falling for the BS. We're not going to keep falling for the BS. And this is exactly why the Black voter base has gone down and are really stepping away from the Democratic Party. And it's so funny because a lot of some people are going to the Republican Party, right? But some people are just saying, you know what, I'm cool on this whole voting thing in general, because a lot of Black people know that the Republicans are, the quote unquote racist, or they're the overt racist, and the Democrats are the covert. The covert. Okay, where am I at? I'm so sorry, family. Right there, right here. Fundamentally, Taylor says that Biden is a cautious president who faces an uphill battle to secure any victories for Black Americans. False. In light of the composition of Congress and the Supreme Court, I don't think there's much he could have done that would have gotten done. Says Taylor. He's showing the cautiousness of someone who has been in the Senate for over 36 years. Taylor says that Biden has been hesitant to support legislative left-leaning priorities favored by the Squad, whoever that is, and a group of progressive Democrats in the House, many of which are targeted at people of color. Again, that is a code word for everybody but foundational Black American freedmen, right? Again, they have these code words, family. If you're new to the channel, again, the code words are people of color, minority, disenfranchised people, again, poor people, Anything like that, anytime you hear those words, that is a finesse bag. And again, our master teacher, Dr. Claude Anderson, is the one who put us onto that type of game. So he's not necessarily working with them to get their priorities done, because he understands from working with the Senate that he's going to be stymied, as Taylor says. Have Black Americans thrived under Biden? Another way to look at it, to look at the Biden presidency, is to look at how Black Americans have actually fared under his leadership. On the bright side, you know, y'all can see that word. I really don't want to say it because, you know, they get goofy, right? You know, the thing they poke in your arm. Well, not that, but the thing that actually causes it. Death among Black Americans have plummeted, which isn't really true, right? There's actually, because of the thing that they've been poking in your arm due to, you know, the whole COVID thing, it's been a lot of people actually dying from that. And that's a whole nother story, but I can't really get into that because they hit my channel every single time I do something on that subject. So we just going to mark past that. Just know that that's some BS, right? But things haven't been all sunshine and rainbows. Skyrocketing inflation rates have been devastating for the Black Americans. In August, roughly 55% of Black Americans told NPR that they are facing financial difficulties, despite the fact that the presidents often have limited control over things like inflation. Biden's poll numbers among Black Americans took a notable hit at the beginning of the summer as prices of everyday household items have surged. Although he did regain much of his popularity closer to the midterms. No, he didn't. That's an absolute lie. And again, I had a video. I don't know if I want to show it because they might hit me with a copyright strike. Let me see if I want to show this. Yeah, fuck it. They give me a copyright strike. They give it to me. I need y'all to see that. I need y'all to hear this real quick.
No, last Tuesday, the annual inflation rate came in at 8.3%. The stock market nosedived. People are shocked by their grocery bills. What can you do better and faster?
Well, first of all, let's put this in perspective. Inflation rate month to month was just an inch, hardly at all.
You're not arguing that 8.3 is good news.
No, I'm not saying it's good news, but it was 8.2 or 8.2 before. I mean, it's not. I can make it sound like all of a sudden, my God, it went to 8.2%. It's
the highest inflation rate, Mr. President, in 40 years.
I got that, but guess what we are? We're in a position where for the last several months, it hasn't spiked. It has just barely, it's been basically even. And in the meantime, we created all these jobs and prices have gone up, but they've come down for energy. The fact is that we've created 10 million.
This Negro said energy came down. Food and gas prices are skyrocketing, but he talking about energy. Nigga, we ain't even got no energy. You ain't got no food in your damn stomach.
New jobs. We're in a sense, we came to office. We're in a situation where the unemployment rate is about 3.7%, one of the lowest in history. We're in a situation where manufacturing is coming back to the United States.
That's funny that he actually said that with all these manufacturing jobs that he actually speaking on, because Amazon and all of these other factories are doing big layoffs. I'm talking about big time layoffs. Matter of fact, I think they said Amazon had about 18,000 layoffs recently, and it's just a whole bunch of them. I can't remember all the names of all the actual jobs that was doing it, but it was a whole lot. It was definitely a whole lot.
In a big way. And look down the road, we have massive investments being made in computer chips and employment. So look, this is a process. This is a process.
Is the economy going to get worse before it gets better?
No, I don't think so.
This was recorded 4 months ago. So you answer that question, family. You answered that question of, is the economy worse than it was 4 months ago? Fam, I was thinking about getting a chicken the other day and selling eggs like they crack, fam. Keeping it a buck. Eggs is crazy expensive right now. So listen, I don't know what this nigga talking about because gas has went up again too.
So we hope we can have what they say, a soft landing, a transition to a place where we don't lose the gains that I ran to make in the first place for middle class folks, being able to generate good paying jobs. And
that's another thing we don't like to hear either. Middle class. You notice when any of these politicians run, they always talk about the middle class and the middle class, the middle class, the middle class. It's like they already telling you F the poor people, and majority of Black people are in the middle class. I'm talking about the majority of Black people aren't living in the middle class. So again, they don't care about Black people. Let's just be real.
And expansion, and at the same time, make sure that we are able to continue to grow.
And you would tell the American people that inflation is going to continue to decline?
No, I'm telling the American people that we're going to get control of inflation, and their prescription drug prices are going to be a hell of a lot lower. Their healthcare costs are going to be a lot lower. Their basic costs for everybody. Their energy prices are going to be lower. They're going to be in a situation where they begin to gain control again. I'm more optimistic than I've been in a long time.
Sir, with the Federal Reserve rapidly raising interest rates, what can you do to prevent a recession?
Continue to grow the economy. And we're growing the economy. It's growing in a way that it hasn't in years and years.
How so?
We're growing entire new industries. We're 695, I think it is, or 85,000 new manufacturing jobs just since I've become president of the United States. Continue to grow the economy and to continue to give hardworking people a break in terms of we pay the highest drug prices in the world of any industrialized nation, making sure that Medicare can negotiate down those prices. By the way, we've also reduced the debt. We reduced the deficit by $350 billion my first year. This year, it's going to be over $1.5 trillion reduce the debt. So to continue to put people in a position to be able to make a decent living and grow.
Damn niggas. So, family, you heard it from literally the horse's mouth. Nigga full of shit. I don't forgot where I was. Close to the midterms. Going to the second half of his first midterm, as you can see, family, you know where the economy is. So you know that was 4 months ago. That was taped 4 months ago. Joe Biden isn't doing anything as a president. Going into the second half of his term, Dixon says that Biden will have to find ways to address inflation by doing more than just raising interest rates. We need a much more robust plan to address inflation and to hopefully offset a recession that many people think is around the corner, says Dixon. It is. Inflation is disproportionately impacting African Americans, and the recession is going to have another disproportionate impact. Again, why? Because majority of us are living under the poverty line, right? A lot of us are living under the poverty line, and majority of us aren't in the middle class, right? So as far as the question of whether Biden's presidency has been transformative for Black Americans or not, Dixon says it's still too soon to tell. Bruh, it's still too soon to tell, and he's been in there for 2 years. At first, they were saying when he was doing all these executive orders in the first couple of months, they was like, "Oh man, it's too early. It's too early." Because he was doing executive orders for mad people, everything except for Black people, right? And they was like, "Oh, it's too early." He's still saying it's too soon. Excuse me. Still saying it's too soon. That's a difficult question, says Dixon. Sometimes when you are developing a negative photo, it takes a few seconds. So you will see in the so what you see in the beginning when you develop the negative photo is different from what follows. Man, this nigga crazy. So family, there it is. You know, again, we have to watch these samples. Again, they're going to say anything to defend Joe Biden and these Democrats. So at the end of the day, listen, we need lineage-based policies, point blank period. If a person ain't pushing lineage-based policies, we need no tangibles, no votes. right? So again, I don't care, again, as Marcel says, right? It's policies over party, right? Policy over party. We don't care if it's from the Republicans. We don't care if it's from the Democrats. We don't care if it's from the energy party. We don't care if it's from the, the independent party. We don't care. The Green Party, the Purple Party. We don't care. We need lineage-based policies that's specifically for foundational Black Americans. And again, we also want reparations. You cutting all these checks for everybody, Afghanistanians, the people in Ukraine, everybody, man. You matter of fact, I seen an article. I was going to do a video on about. I wound up not doing it, but it was an article about how they put New York is putting all these immigrants in all these nice hotels. They coming over here and you just setting them up. Meanwhile, you got all these homeless Black people. You ain't putting them in no hotels. You see what I'm saying? So again, we have to check this government, man. We got to make sure that they are doing things for foundational Black Americans. This is exactly why I don't really, I really hate the whole, government and voting and this, that, and the third, and even arguing with people. Because I'll be like, yo, even people that aren't foundational Black Americans, and you just start talking about the government, you like, yo, listen, it's funny because your average Joe that isn't Black, they'll never complain about them really giving money to Ukraine. You feel what I'm saying? And it's just like, yo, you don't really see, like, bro, you over here starving. You over here hurting. You barely can pay your bills. As a white person or, a Spanish person, like, why do you think that it's okay for them to give money to all these other people? Meanwhile, we over here struggling. You feel what I'm saying? So again, family, policy over party. And again, we need tangible benefits. Other than that, all that symbolism, you electing all these Black people and this, that, and third, because we see Black people, again, all Black, all skin folk and kinfolk. And again, this dude David and this dude Steven, who was talking about and giving this dude breaks on why he's not doing anything. Again, this is the same thing they did for Obama. That's why I always try to, and they like to do this because they know that people don't go back. They don't go back in time and say, yo, you know what? Y'all was saying this, that's why I said I had to play that video from 4 months ago. Literally had to play that video for 4 months because they know you are in the now. You can't even go back 2 months ago and say, yo, hold on, y'all just said such and such and such. That's why I say when it comes to that thing they poke in your arm, anytime it comes to that, I'll be like, yo, let's go back to 2020 and just see what people was posting and see what people were saying to right now, to what's going on right now. And the information that's coming out right now is totally different. And nobody wants to bring that up. Because again, a lot of people don't like to eat crow. You feel me? A lot of people don't like to admit when they wrong. A lot of people don't like to admit when they finesse. And watch this. And this is why, right? Because I always say when Black people who vote for Democrat, and I'll be like, yo, where are all the people who supported Biden? Where are the people that were saying F Trump, Biden? We just need Trump out. Where are all those people at? Again, when people know that they messed up and they made a mistake, a lot of people don't like to admit to that. You will rarely find a person to say, yo, you know what? I made the wrong decision. Because again, when people know that they've been finessed, a lot of people don't even say nothing. And this is actually true when it comes to crimes, right? When a lot of people have gotten finessed for their money, they normally don't even say nothing. Majority of the people who get finessed out their money, like say they get something and somebody, it was like a scam, right? Say somebody gets scammed out of something, whether it's, a class or whatever the hell it is, you know what I mean? Majority of the people just sit back and they just like, oh man, they try to get their bread back from the person. They can't get it back. It just is what it is. And a lot of people don't speak on it, right? A lot of people don't speak on it because again, a lot of people don't like to show other people that they were that vulnerable and that they got finessed. A lot of people don't like this, like that. So again, this is why you will rarely ever see a lot of Black people admit that, this voting process is some BS. It's some BS because all they do is put people in office that's going to finesse us and say, oh, it's been 2 years. He really can't do nothing yet. But then again, watch this. Then there's some of the things that he done. He say, oh, he wrote an executive order and he got this voting thing. Come on, dog. What does that do? You won the election because of people who voted for you. So now you pass them things for voting, making it seem like it's for us, but really it's for illegal immigrants. That's why I said you got to dig through this stuff to see the finesse. And I think because of the internet, a lot of people are starting to wake up. So family, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, that like button, that share button. And again, all the people who are already subscribed, again, I appreciate you. I love you for all your support. And make sure y'all hit me up on my Patreon. That's Black Star TV 2.0. Make sure you hit me on Anchor, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and hit that Cash App, man, WILLIE 0312, and my PayPal at BlackStarTV20. Again, thank you, family. I appreciate y'all for being here with me and all your support. We out of here. Peace. Y'all have a productive week.